Hey, this is the Johnsons. I'm Aaron Johnson,
I'm Jasmine Johnson.
and we're gonna talk a little bit about our adoption journey and some other things we'll hit on later. Um, you want to go ahead and talk about how we got into adoption?
Sure. We've been married for almost 10 years. After we had been married for about a year, we started trying to, conceive, get pregnant, grow our family. But we had a lot of difficulties. We struggled with infertility for about 3 or 4 years or something like that. Went to doctors, did tests, you know, nothing really came of it. Nobody really knew what exactly was wrong. And so we started to think about other um, options for becoming parents. Something we had a desire to do, and we wanted to grow our family. And so, first we thought about if we did the IUD treatment. Did one cycle of that, and that didn't work. Um, and IUI, yeah, the IUI, sorry. Did one cycle, didn't work, and we decided to maybe try fostering. We considered that, but that fell through. It didn't work out. We just wanted something a little more, permanent. So that's what really kind of drove us to the adoption route. So we we looked at a number of different adoption agencies. Called around, asked questions, and we decided to go with Bethany Christian Services for our two boys. Um, it's a lengthy process. It's a lot of paperwork. Medical tests, income information that they need. And it can be very invasive. Yeah, so they want to know everything about you, about your life, your marriage, your household. It really just gets you to think a lot about, what type of parents that you want to be, what kind of environment you want to raise your kids in. And so yeah, that's how we are here now. We adopted we were placed with our first son back in 2017. The adoption was finalized that December of the same year, and then we went back for a second round with the same agency. Started that process in about 2018, and then Wesley was born September 7th, 2019, and was placed with us a week later or a few days later.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then finalized his adoption this past January of this year. So, I know it took, us quite a long journey to get here, but, I think the timing of everything just worked out for us, and, we love our boys very much. We can't imagine life without them. I know some fears, that people have about adopting would be, are we going to be able to love these kids as our own because they're not biologically ours? And speak for myself, I've never had that issue. It didn't matter to me that they weren't mine biologically. I love them the same, I feel. And so, that's our journey to becoming parents and opening our home.
so that's our personal journey on how we became adoptive parents. I want to talk a little bit about um, what came out of our adoption journey. When we first started, we were looking through sample profile books, and a lot of the families were white. There weren't very many black adoptive families that we saw. We did see a lot of white families who had adopted black children, but we just weren't seeing many of us. And we asked our agency workers if that was common, if that was the norm, and they said, yeah, pretty much. And oftentimes they find that birth families, black birth families would actually prefer to have black adoptive parents, or at least a couple where at least one of the parents is black, but they just don't have a big pool of black adoptive parents to choose from. And that kind of stuck with me. I didn't really do anything about it with our first adoption, but like I said, it stuck with me. And then shortly after our second adoption, I decided to do something about it. Just kind of go back to 2017 again. What I forgot to mention was during our process, I was looking to see if there were any grants or any special programs geared specifically towards black couples who are trying to adopt. And if there was anything out there, I didn't see it. So, as we, went on in our adoption journey and got plugged into the adoption community, we saw that there were more and more programs out there to help interracial adoptions. I saw a lot of programs about everything from how to do your black kids' hair to how to talk to your black kids about racism. And I think all that's great. I believe, we're not against transracial adoption, and we believe that it's great that there's programs in place to help support those families. But at the same time, it didn't make sense to me that we were, or by we, I guess I mean the adoption community, were doing so much to help, white families with their black children, but not doing anything to help recruit more black families. That really stood out to me. I wasn't understanding why that wasn't happening. So, again, back in 2017, I didn't really do anything about it, but fast forward to 2019, shortly after we adopted our second son. I won't get into the whole story about how I ended up with a book written by one of our friends who's a nonprofit lawyer. I just ended up reading it somehow. I had no plans previously to start a nonprofit, but somehow I decided that I should try and start a nonprofit whose goal would be to give out adoption grants specifically for black families. We know for all families, black, white, whatever, cost is a big issue in trying to adopt. And I wanted to do something specifically for black families to help ease the financial burden. So through all that, I started WAT. WAT stands for We Adopt Too. We have our t-shirts on here. The full name is WAT Black Family Adoption Assistance. And we are an official 501c3 nonprofit, which means any donations are tax deductible. And actually just about a week ago, we were able to give out our very first $5,000 adoption grant. And we're hoping to do more moving forward. We're in the middle of a fundraising campaign for this National Adoption Month. So, if you're able to give, you can go to our website, www.whatadoptions.org. I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere in this post. But every little bit helps. That way we can give more and more adoption grants to black families. So again, that's our story, how we became adoptive parents and how I started the nonprofit WAT Black Family Adoption Assistance. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.